Now, part of the reason I didn't cut all the footage of me failing out of the video was because I really want this YouTube video to embrace failure, to really like look at failure and, you know, wear it on my sleeve and sort of flaunt and brag about failure. I think, you know, artists, they have a lot of pressure to sweep failure under the rug and to like hide failure, but I think failure is probably the most important part of being an artist, and I also think it's the most fun part. Trying things and having them not work is fun. It's also heartbreaking, and it's also painful and shameful, and sometimes it's downright frustrating. But if you don't do fun things with your art, if you don't do things that are cool and fun to you, then you're never gonna figure out what you want your art to look like, what you want your subjects to be, what you want to say, you know. And I think part of that is to do stuff and hate it. You have to hate some things that you make. You have to create monstrosities. You have to look at stuff and say, wow, that is objectively ugly. And that's part of it. It's also fun and interesting to look at those things because, you know, I'm not saying that making good art is easy. I'm not even saying making good art is possible every single time, but if you just like hide failures, if you rip them out of your sketchbook, if you throw them into a fire, if you never let anyone see them, then one, you'll never figure out why those things don't work. Two, if you do know why they don't work, you never get any creative solutions. You're always going to find solutions that are what everyone else is doing. You're just going to, it's very easy to just become passé, to just become part of everyone else's vision. You know, like, the community would be stronger if you knew that big YouTubers also had shitty anatomy sketches in their sketchbook. Because you know that they do. You know that not everything they draw comes out nice. Not everything they draw comes out proportionate. There's stupid little shitty doodles everywhere. But there's never any room to show that online. There's never any room because algorithms don't favor artists who show their failures. You know, failures don't get likes, they don't get seen, they don't get shared, they don't get saved. But they're important. They're important because those, you can only fix something if you know what's broken with it. And to know what's broken, you have to look at your failures and you have to share them. You know, you can't fix everything on your own. And I don't know, I just think there's not enough okayness. There's not enough fragrant failing. We don't let people fail publicly. You know, failing is something you do in private. It's something you burn up. It's something you don't want people to see. But it's also like when you're the most yourself, you know, because you were trying, you were experimenting. You know, the only way to fail is if you do something you don't really know what you're doing. And that's like a very vulnerable state. It's very you know, and like, I think the fear of failure is also part of the reason why you get so many beginning and new artists asking like, what is my style? What does my style look like? How do I get my style? You get your style by failing. You draw something and you fail. You figure out why you failed. And eventually one day all of your art has yourself in it. You can post a picture and people will know that you painted it. That comes from years and years of failing. At this point in the process, I was very frustrated. I was ready to just stop. I was ready to slap stickers on my sketchbook and call it a day. I was just gonna abandon this video entirely. But, you know, I obviously didn't do that. And I think part of the reason was because I failed so well. I failed twice in a row, and I was ready to tear my hair out and throw all my art supplies away. But it was a really good and entertaining fail. Like, I was angry and yelling and frustrated, and that's a really good, really cathartic failure. And, you know, in the end, I just returned to my basics. You know, I'm one of those artists that like draws eyes a lot. That's like my foundation. I'm very proud of it. I only draw left eyes, and yeah, I don't know. I like it. And the fact that I ended up liking it is a success. It wasn't the success that I wanted it to be, but it is a success. And my sketchbook is now decorated in a personal way. And, you know, it makes me want to use the sketchbook. And that was the whole point, was to want to use my sketchbook, to be able to look at my sketchbook and know that it's mine, to feel that sense of identity with it. And that's what ended up happening. So I really did not fail, which is a fun way of saying that I definitely did fail. But I think it's just, you know, I don't think anyone could ever help trying to make themselves feel better after not doing what they thought they would do. Which is something that I'm working on. I really want to be able to just say, I fucked up, this didn't work the way I wanted it to, and to just be okay saying that. You know, you can't, not everything can be done at 100%, and sometimes your 100% isn't good enough anyway. And I think we have to just be okay with that. We have to just be okay that our 100% isn't okay. We can't fix problems that don't want to be fixed. Sometimes we just don't have the tools to fix problems. I think it's fine. And I'm not even comfortable saying it all the time. You know, I'm pretty stubborn, especially with my art, and I want to like crocodile wrestle my art until it looks the way that I want it to look. And, you know, that's a journey that I'm on. I'm working on it. And I think we should all work on it. I think we should all just, you know, be able to look at each other and say, yeah, that was a huge piece of shit. Just huge. And laugh about it and move on. Try again tomorrow, you know? It is hard. I do think it's hard. I think it's hard even if you're self-aware of it. Even if you know that you should just be okay with failing. Even if you know that not everything can come out perfectly. It's hard, because I think part of it is that we also act like art must be so personal and meaningful every single time. And to some people it is. To some people, art really is like their catharsis, their therapy, you know, and they imbue a lot of meaning to it. But once you have that expectation to imbue so much meaning into every piece of thing that you work on, then not only do you lose sight of the fun of your art, but you lose sight of like experimentation and the embracing of failure. Because if you fail to convey your message, you're like failing yourself, and that's stupid. It's stupid. I don't know, like, we shouldn't force artists to have deep, meaningful meanings about pieces of artwork. You know, I'm not saying that everything should be empty aesthetics, because I don't think that would be a good world either. But I do think that, you know, letting artists have fun is fine, you know. And I also think it's weird. I think it's weird that we like ask artists to explain the meaning of their piece expecting some sort of like trauma, right? Like, I have this piece hanging up in my dining room, and it's like a portrait piece. It's the back of a naked woman, and I really like the piece, and the piece does have personal meaning to me. It does. But when a friend asked me about it, I sat there and I was like, do I want to unpack years of trauma that I was like working out in this piece, or do I just want to say I like Naked Lady Butt? And I chose Naked Lady Butt, and I'm pretty sure she was disappointed in that answer, because my art didn't have a deep meaning. And I was just like, we don't owe people explanations for our trauma, and we don't owe them explanations for our art. Sometimes things just look cool and we like it. Sometimes they're like talking about like trauma. And I think both of those have a place in everyone's art. Everyone has, you know, room for both of those things. I think if you only use your art as a means of working through trauma, you are setting yourself up for failure. Because what happens when you heal, right? Like, the obsession with like trauma and mental illness in art is bad, because the goal of those things, or at least for most people, their goal is to heal, to find ways to cope, to move on from their trauma, to get away from that negative mindset. So when you say that your art is only meaningful in terms of, you know, that deep artistic pain, then not only are you stunting yourself from being able to heal because you're worried that you'll dull your sparkle, when you do heal, you feel like you can't just make pretty things, you know? And sometimes when you make art about your trauma, you're just picking at a wound. You know, you pick at the scab and you re-pick at it and you re-pick at it, and, you know, it doesn't make bad art. I'm not saying that it's not healthy. I mean, obviously I'm not a professional. I just draw fucking pictures for my life. But it does feel like that's not a good thing. It doesn't feel like you should be picking at the same wound over and over and over again and forcing yourself to relive and rethink traumatic parts of your life or your brain for the sake of art. You know, like Vincent van Gogh, I think, is a really great example where people are like, yeah, his depression, it made him so deep. It made him so good at art. But like most of his paintings were made when he was being treated, which means that he was in a better place mentally and he was healing. Not only that, we would have had more Vincent van Gogh paintings if he was constantly and consistently receiving treatment, because a lot of his paintings got destroyed when he was going through bad episodes. Because when you don't like yourself in your brain, you tend not that you're a worse artist, but you tend to be way overly critical. You're afraid of failure even more. You're more critical of failure. You're not embracing failure when your brain is in that fog, in that illness, you know? And like, this is something that I don't think not traditional art people get, you know? Like, I don't know a lot about theater, but there's a really big push to have actors pull from their own trauma to act. And I think that's really weird, because I don't know if it's good to force people to feel trauma for art. Like, that on the face of it sounds bad. Obviously I don't know a lot, and I don't know, maybe the whole point of going to theater school is to teach you how to do that without mentally damaging yourself. But like, I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with the idea that we ask artists to do that to themselves, you know, and we're not even talking about how undervalued arts are in society, you know, but you know, they to ask that mental strain. We don't ask that for any other job. We don't ask other people to give up their mental trauma for our consumption in any other job. You know, you don't walk up to your barista at Starbucks and say, hey, so you got mommy issues or daddy issues? Also, I would like a large mocha frappuccino. Like, that would be really weird and strange and super inappropriate. And I don't understand why that doesn't also exist for artists. You know, I feel as though sometimes people consume art, they also want to consume your pain. They want to consume the trauma that made this art so pretty and beautiful, and they want to pretend that your pain is beautiful and like will make you super deep and insightful, but that isn't true. Pain doesn't make you insightful. It just makes you wary, and everyone can be wary, you know. Like, I don't know, I'm not a professional artist. I mean, obviously I don't make money off my art anywhere close to sustain myself, you know. But it's something that I've noticed recently when I started taking my art a bit more seriously and really starting to grind, so to speak, is that people expect me to explain the deeper meaning. And when they say deeper meaning, they almost always mean like, so what fucked up thing happened to you to make you do this? And I think that's super inappropriate. And I think, you know, like, you should be fine if someone goes, I just like fat lady butt, you know, like, leave people alone, right? Like, not everything has to be deep, and things that are deep you are not entitled to know about, and artists do not have to share that if they don't want to. And I think that's really important if you're like getting into the art game, whether you're doing digital or traditional or fine or graphic art. Like, you don't owe anyone shit. You don't owe anyone shit diggity, you know, and they don't deserve to know why you are like that, and you should never feel pressure to do that. Also, don't you think it's weird that like we talk about art and we rank art, but then there's also this desire to know the trauma and pain behind art? So then it does sort of become like a competition to be like, who is the most fucked up and who did a great job of turning their fucked upness into art. Like, that's pretty messed up. I don't know if I'm allowed to say fuck on YouTube, but my content ain't for kids, so I feel like I'm fine. I feel like I'm in the clear. I should probably talk about the art of the sketchbook. And yeah, this is just acrylic eye and in swirl. I really just like pretty colors. Most of my art is centered around the fact that I like pretty colors and I want to see what they do. So this eye is just a representation of that, you know. I was giving myself so much rules at the beginning of this sketchbook, and I think that's why it failed, is because I was like, I'm gonna do this because this is the thumbnail that I've sketched out for this cover of my sketchbook, and it's gonna look so pretty and so nice, and it's gonna be so cool when I make a video about it, and people are gonna think I'm so good and so great at art. And that, you know, it set me up for failure. I had this expectation, and I could not meet that expectation because I was giving myself a set of arbitrary rules. And I don't need to do that, and no one has to do that. The rules of art exist only when I say they exist, when I want them to exist. And everything else is meaningless, so long as I say that it is, you know. And my cover doesn't have to be a beautiful, well thought out piece that I've thumbnailed 37 times. It can just be splats of art and a fucking eye, and that's fine. And I feel like that's more who I am than what I was trying to force myself to do. And I will probably make my other piece a bigger piece, just because I really do like the hands. But I think that's probably what it was pushing me towards. You know, it was pushing me towards making the hands into a piece that it deserved to be, and making my sketchbook what it deserved to be. And my sketchbook deserves to be messy and full of failure and raw and not refined and not polished. And the hands deserve to be that way. And that's what I learned. And that's what the whole point of this video was. And it took me forever to get here. And I went on 17,000 tangents. And if you're still listening to this, good on you, dude. Good on you. I don't even know if I'm going to re-listen to this audio. I think I won't. Not that I hate the sound of my own voice. I'm actually one of the few people who's like, I hear my voice on audio and I'm go, oh, okay. It doesn't bother me, but like, boy, did I go on a lot of tangents, and I know that I'm going to like sound kind of pretentious and preachy, and I can't handle that because that's cringe. But also, like, maybe I should get past cringe, because maybe cringe is failure. Hold on, you hypothesis. Cringe is failure. To feel cringe is to embrace failure. So I think we should all just watch my videos to embrace the cringe of my art, and that will somehow make everyone else better at their art. And that's my thesis, and that's how I'm gonna end this section of audio for the video, which has been a lot of it. And yeah, I'm gonna catch you guys at the end. Please listen to whatever music I put it after this. Maybe some Japanese rock, I don't know. I'm just trying to keep these videos really easy breezy, really low stakes, you know? Because then I won't want to do them. So we're coming to the end of the video now, and I'm just putting in some final touches, and writing my initials and my name onto my book. And you know, I've calmed down since my rant. I took a little walk, and yeah, I don't know. It came out good. I like looking at it. I like looking at my sketchbook, and that was the goal. Here's my palette. I love shots of my palette. They're so goopy and gross. And I want to just thank you guys for listening and watching and being here. And yeah, I hope to see you again in another video. And by see you, I mean I hope you listen to my voice be grumpy about stuff for 20 minutes. This is goodbye for now. And for now, goodbye.